The children have gone back to school, and so have the teachers. But what do teachers learn, and how are they taught? Is indoctrination and a left-wing agenda at play in their formation? Richard Klagsbrun is a blogger and writer, and
and just a guy.
You dislike teachers?
I do not dislike teachers. I think teachers are wonderful people. The problem as I see it, is that there are agendas within the institutions that produce teachers. And you know, as an example, I'd say, let's say, hypothetically, in the heart of Toronto, there was a Nazi university. There was, let's say it...
hypothetically,
hypothetically,
yeah.
Hypothetically, at the, say, somewhere near St. George and Bloor, there was Heinrich Himmler U. And so if I told you there were courses there, this is all, it isn't, but you know, just for example, if there was such a place, and I told you that such a place had courses like whiteness theory and critical race theory, you'd go, well, that sounds about consistent with something you'd expect for Heinrich Himmler U. Now, of course, there is no Heinrich Himmler U.
No. But there's Hermann Goring College.
There is. That's
not very good.
That's up near another part of town.
Yeah.
But no, but obviously there's no Heinrich Himmler U. But however, at St. George or near St. George and Bloor, there we have
downtown Toronto.
Which is downtown Toronto. We have the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education.
Right.
Which is a faculty of the University of Toronto, which has programs like one's called Sociology and Equity Studies in Education, which has which teaches whiteness theory and critical race studies. Yeah. And the intention is not what you would find from Nazis. Ostensibly they are anti-racist activists. Cool. But the result's the same. The result is a continuation of promoting racism, because it teaches that everything needs to be seen through the lens of race.
Before you go on, we should explain for people, God bless them, who live outside of Toronto, largest city, I'm sorry, but they educate huge numbers of teachers.
Indeed.
I mean, I've actually even given a couple of lectures within the building, but obviously not on their curriculum. But I would think it's thousands, isn't it, over the years?
Oh, yes. And now, these courses, again, they teach through the lens of race. They produce... and we're not talking about undergraduate courses. These are postgraduate courses that produce masters and doctorates.
Senior teachers,
all sorts of things. These people do go on to teach, and you could say, well, these are, and these types of programs. There are other ones in OISE, and I have to insert one disclaimer. The entire institution at OISE is not like this throughout, but there's a significant sector of it. Yeah. It does actually have a good...
Sure. A lot of the people they teach, of course, teach other teachers.
Yes.
It's rather like a pebble in a pond that ripples. Many of the teachers at universities throughout this country who are teaching education would have been educated at OISE.
Yes.
So they're learning race-based education, the traditional Marxian idea of what race is and so on. I mean, it's regrettable. I mean, I have met teachers who've gone through the system there, and they almost laugh at what they're taught. They say there'll be a couple of teachers, a certain course, you grin and bear it. If you criticize in any way, you're going to be in a bit of trouble. Yes. You might not pass, so you just nod your head and you move on. But they're not particularly influenced by it. They're too intelligent for that.
But some are, and that's the issue. And quite a number are, and especially when you think about the way that these programs operate. I mean, you know, we hope that society, our society, Western society, has advanced to the point where Martin Luther King's vision, where people are judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin, is the way that things are. But when you view everything through the lens of race, it perpetuates racism.
Well,
there's no way of avoiding it.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts, put it very succinctly. He said, the way to end discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race.
That's rather well put, isn't it? Apart from, now I should also emphasize to people outside or even within Toronto, OISE, I mean, it's almost a running joke, OISE and the left.
Yes.
I mean, this place is renowned. Beyond the race issue, though, I've heard there are other very, very left-wing ideologies being taught, being imposed on people.
Well, they are, and but they all tie into one another. So what happens at OISE, you get these preposterous theses coming out of it. One proposed that Zionism, or that Holocaust education is an evil Zionist plot to...
Learning about Anne Frank is evil.
Yes, because it's part of the Zionist plot to promote Israel and has something to do with advancing Jewish whiteness. I'm not quite sure how that works.
Okay, that sounds a moderate proposal.
There was another very interesting thesis that came out of this program that said that Western feminists who oppose genital mutilation are motivated by racism and the pleasure of whiteness and an obsession with genitalia.
Well, I mean, look, we all have an obsession with whiteness, but this is true.
I write. And sometimes I try and think of things to, to parody. I wouldn't be able to invent better parody. It's true.
But genital mutilation, I mean, sometimes little girls are circumcised with broken bottles. It is horrendous, beyond comprehension. And at OISE, and I'm sure it's not the policy of the institution, but there are people at OISE proposing, writing that if Western feminists oppose this, they have no right to, and they're wrong, and they're doing it for very base reasons. That's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe, but it does exist. And normally I would say, okay, there is this marginal program with marginal people, with dubious scholarship, with laughable standards. So what? I mean, yes, we have an interest because we pay for it with their taxes, but we pay for a lot of stupid things with our taxes. Big deal. But the issue is that people coming out of this program, as you said, with doctorates, with master's degrees, not only are they going on to teach, but they're forming curriculums and they're forming educational policies throughout Canada. And so what you have now in public schools is a system where, well, there's an educational approach called critical pedagogy, and it was formed by, or essentially founded by a fellow named Paulo Freire, and there are proponents like Peter McLaren. And Peter McLaren's an interesting guy. He teaches at UCLA. If you go to his website, you're greeted by a screen display of Shea lives and propaganda for pro-Castro.
What a boring old fart he must be.
Well, he looks like he hasn't changed much since the mid-'60s. He's got long hair and the jacket. And,
you got 10 seconds.
I have 10 seconds? Yeah. It was nice to see you again. And people should get engaged, do their own research, and with an election coming up, talk to your candidates.
Very, very sensible. Thanks very much.
Thank you.